Malheureusement. Edmond Dantes stood proudly at the front of the ship Pharaon as it entered the port of Marseille.
The wind pushed the sails, the sea sparkled in the sunlight, and sailors hurried across the deck.
For Edmond, this was not just another journey. It was the beginning of a new life. He was only 19 years old, but already the first mate of one of the finest ships of his company. His heart was full of hope and dreams, for he carried good news for both his employer and his family. The Pharaon had sailed from Smyrna, then stopped in Naples, and was finally returning to Marseille. On the voyage, the ship's captain had fallen gravely ill.
Edmond, young and ambitious, had taken command.
All hands ready. We hold course for Marseille.
He navigated storms, negotiated with traders, and brought the ship safely home with its cargo untouched. His skill and bravery impressed everyone on board. Even the old sailors, who at first had doubted him, now spoke of him with respect. As the ship neared the dock, a small crowd gathered to welcome it. Merchants, port workers, and families waited impatiently. Edmond felt his heart beat faster, for among the crowd stood the two people he loved most.
His father, an old man who had given everything for his son.
And Mercedes, the beautiful young woman who was promised to him.
The ship anchored, and Edmond gave sharp, confident orders.
Lower the sails. Prepare the ropes. Secure the cargo.
And the sailors obeyed with speed.
When the gangplank was lowered, Edmond ran down, eager to embrace his father and Mercedes.
His father held him tightly, tears in his eyes.
Mercedes smiled, her dark hair shining in the sunlight, her eyes full of love.
Edmond, she whispered, you are safe. I prayed for you every day.
I am safe, and more than that, I bring good news. The captain has died, but the owner, Monsieur Morel, has promised to make me captain of the Pharaon. 19! I shall have my own command.
His father's hands trembled as he held him. Captain, my son, you make me proud.
Mercedes lowered her eyes modestly, though joy filled her heart. To be the wife of a captain meant security and honor. She dreamed of a small home near the sea, children playing by the shore, and a future bright with happiness. You have shown courage and wisdom beyond your years. The Pharaon is yours to command, Edmond. Serve me faithfully, and you shall rise even higher.
The crowd cheered, and Edmond felt as if the whole world celebrated with him.
Yet, while most smiled, not every face was full of joy. Hidden among the crowd was Fernand Mondego, a fisherman from Catalonia. He stood silently, his fists clenched, his eyes burning with jealousy. For Fernand loved Mercedes too, and he had long dreamed of marrying her. But she had chosen Edmond, and Fernand's heart was filled with anger and envy. Another man, Danglars, the ship's purser, also looked at Edmond with bitterness. During the voyage, Edmond had been promoted above him, and Danglars could not forgive this humiliation.
To see a 19-year-old boy given the command of the Pharaon was, for him, an insult.
His lips curled into a thin smile as he muttered to himself, "Captain Dantes, we shall see how long that lasts." Unaware of the hatred growing around him, Edmond walked proudly through the streets of Marseille with his father and Mercedes at his side. They visited his father's small home, where Edmond discovered a painful truth. His father had lived in poverty while he was away. Out of duty, the old man had repaid a debt of money that Edmond owed to a neighbor, leaving himself almost nothing to eat.
Edmond was heartbroken, but he quickly gave his father all the wages he had earned.
From now on, you will want for nothing.
The evening brought more joy. Edmond and Mercedes walked along the shore, speaking of their future. The sea breeze touched their faces, and the horizon seemed to promise endless possibilities. They planned to marry as soon as possible. Mercedes leaned on Edmond's arm and whispered,
My love, we will be together forever.
I wish this happiness could last forever.
It will.
Nothing can take it from us.
But fate had other plans.
While Edmond celebrated, Danglars and Fernand met secretly in a dark tavern. They spoke in low voices, their words heavy with malice.
Edmond has everything. Mercedes, success, the captaincy. While I, who has loved her since childhood, am left with nothing. And I, said Danglars, should be purser, second only to the captain.
Instead, this boy takes the command, and I am forced to serve under him. His good fortune is insufferable. The two men drank coffee, their eyes filled with hatred. It was then that Danglars suggested a plan. What if Edmond were accused of being a traitor? What if someone wrote a letter to the authorities, claiming he carries messages from Napoleon's supporters?
If he is arrested, he will lose Mercedes. She will be mine. Exactly. And I shall have my revenge. He will never be captain if he is in prison. That night, with careful handwriting, Danglars composed a letter.
It accused Edmond Dantes of carrying a secret letter from Napoleon Bonaparte to his followers in Paris.
The accusation was false, but it was dangerous. The government feared Napoleon, who had been exiled but still had many loyal supporters.
To be suspected of helping him was enough to destroy a man's life.
When the letter was finished, Fernand delivered it to the local prosecutor. With that single act, Edmond's future was poisoned. The next day, Edmond's friends gathered for his betrothal feast. Laughter filled the air, music played, and tables were heavy with food and drinks. Mercedes wore a simple white dress, her face glowing with happiness. Cheers answered him, and for a moment, all seemed perfect. But outside, in the shadows, soldiers approached. At the height of the celebration, the door opened, and an officer entered with cold authority.
Edmond Dantes?
Yes.
You are under arrest by order of the king's prosecutor.
The room fell silent. Mercedes gasped, Edmond's father trembled, and Edmond himself stood frozen with shock. He had done nothing wrong, yet strong hands seized him and led him away.
There must be a mistake! Edmond is innocent!
The feast ended in confusion and sorrow.
But her words were useless. The trap had closed, and Edmond's bright future was already slipping into darkness.